r/askreddit, who is the worst kind of person to be sat next to on a long flight? Without fail, I get a sinus infection 2 weeks into international travel. I feel so bad for the coughing, sneezing, and generally looking sick. It usually hits when I am set to head back home and have to sit miserably on a plane for 15 hours. Definitely someone who talks non-stop or takes up all the armrest space. Had a 5-hour flight once stuck next to 2 talkers that were drinking. Fucking nightmare. An older woman wearing the most foul-smelling perfume my nose has smelled. It was a 9-hour flight. I felt like throwing up from my headache a few hours in. Yup, for me overly floral perfume gives me a wicked headache that absolutely will not abate until I get fresh air. I'm so sorry, that sounds awful. People who don't wear headphones. Oh, that sucks. I remember going on a WestJet flight and a woman gave her kid an iPad to play games with. The flight attendant put an end to the volume quickly. I was so thankful. They made an announcement on my most recent flight that you aren't allowed to listen to anything without headphones. He'll also add people who wear headphones but have music on at full volume. It's not as infuriating as no headphones, but if I can identify what you're listening to on your headphones, it's too loud. Nightmare people all around. I once had the people behind me change their toddler's poopy diaper right there at the seat, and oh god, it was awful. We all turned the vents on to blow it away, but it was pretty futile. People were gagging. Smelly person. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can do about it while on the plane. Next time, hit the flight attendant call button. They'll put a stop to the real quick. I would lose my mind if someone did that. My mother. She will talk your ear off. Get your phone number and try to meet up you in the future when you've long forgotten about her. I think I've met your mom on a flight. I have had that happen. The woman actually moved to where I lived and called me. I recently sat by a girl who kept blowing her snotty nose into her fingers. Okay, that's a new one for me. I'm almost afraid to ask what did she do after capturing her snot into her fingers. A child with inattentive parents. Worst I encountered on that front wasn't actually an inattentive parent, it was 2 loud kids and a mother who screamed at them the whole flight. The kids were annoying, the mother was like having an ice pick shoved in my ear. Wonder where they learned to be so loud from. The guy I sat next to on a 14-hour flight that whipped out a bag of shelled pistachios right when we got on and proceeded to crack and eat them for the whole flight. Between the noise of the cracking, the soft shell pieces flying everywhere, and him sucking the shells and licking his fingers, I'm surprised I didn't end up tackled by air marshal and hauled off at the nearest stop. Tell them to go to the bathroom and wash up in the sink, take a hoe bath. Sometimes you gotta tell people. There was a guy on one of the travel Reddits arguing that if his leg space is a little too small because of the way the row in front of him seat legs are bolted to the floor, he should be able to put his feet on the other side of those seat legs, in his neighbor's foot space. So probably that guy. Terrorists. Unless they are planning on hijacking that plane right now, I assume they want to keep as low a profile as possible, therefore will do absolutely nothing to stand out or annoy anyone. Maybe I can save the day by accidentally spilling my drink on their bombs. Oh, we talk in Terry's. I'd just hope in my heart of hearts that someone would either hypothetical them in the clavicle, but more preferably, drax them sclounced. I sat next to someone who vomited for most of the flight. Worst experience ever. He was in the middle seat too. My gag reflexes were not okay. The person who wants to clip their toenails at the most inconvenient times. Who does that? A tall person with really long legs. I realize it's not their fault, but I don't like being touched, and having to sit through a flight with someone's knees pressed against mine is not fun. I'd take a big person over a smelly person. Nothing is worse than someone who smells like ass and you're trapped. Total violation of the senses. It sucks so much I can't do anything about it either, cause these stupid airlines makes everything for people under 55. The guy who chugs 2 drinks and then sleeps, snoring loudly, for the entire flight. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. No way, that's the worst. You're okay, man. This doesn't sound bad. Planes are already loud and most people will have headphones. As a person who flies weekly, as long as you're in the window seat and I can get out to pee, I wouldn't mind that at all. Everybody on a plane has headphones, so snore away. From Hawaii to LA, I sat next to a guy wearing a small tank top and shorts who had clearly wiped out on a skateboard the previous day. Body was covered in road rash that was oozing the entire time. He just picked at all his wounds / scabs / ooze the entire flight. Sat next to a woman who coughed the entire flight and wouldn't wear a mask. 3 days later, I get COVID. I was going to answer exactly this. In my last flight, my neighbor was taking his mask off to cough and wipe his nose with his bare hands, and touch the armrest with that nasty hands without sanitize anything, for the whole 9-ish hours. Also 3 days later, I got a positive test for COVID. I was wearing a mask, but between the meals and the proximity, definitely it was not enough. Someone who doesn't have headphones when you're trying to read a new book you've been saving for this specific flight. Once I was on a flight where the guy in the row next to me was playing music out loud from his phone. It wasn't that loud, but still highly annoying. It took the flight attendants an hour to say anything to him. Odor is my rage inducer. I can handle errant kicks to the back of my chair, screaming babies, long delays, space invaders, whatever. I travel frequently, I'm resigned to having a lousy experience, and have my own little ways of coping through all those things. That said, fart up a storm or radiate epic bow, and suddenly I'm in a TikTok video getting escorted off a plane. The worst person I've ever sat next to decided to cut a sandwich with chopsticks. Took them a solid 4 minutes of sawing while elbowing me to get through it. For being a small person they somehow managed to be constantly in my personal space and later on cried and screamed like a child when the flight attendant took their drink from them due to rough turbulence. I stayed on the flight at the connection and the flight attendant came up after she had gotten off the plane and apologized to me. I'm usually more worried about who sits behind or in front of me. Going with an unusual answer, but an attractive woman. Every guy in the area tries to strike up a conversation with her, and it's the most boring stuff to listen to. Good, we need some unusual answers LOL. LOL, imagine how fed up she is. My roommate was a stripper, and she and a couple of her friends got me to take them to the beach. The other two decided to go topless, legal here. Every bro for miles showed up to chat them up. They were even chatting me up hoping it would make them look good. I'm male. A DED person. On a flight to Turkey 17 years ago a man died and the poor girl who sat beside him had to stay put on the full plane. Or the gentleman who puked all over the row in front of him, also on a full plane. OMG. That would be trauma-inducing. A screaming baby. Last flight I was on had a group of young families sitting around me with 11 babies in total. Friggin' Dolby 7.2 surround sound crying. Someone who is hell-bent on chatting when your whole demeanor screams leave me alone. Whose parents aren't even trying. Screaming babies equals annoying. Lazy parents with screaming babies equals infuriating. When I see the parent trying I feel a lot more empathy. The silent farter, your nose gets assaulted at random times by foul odors that vary in their degrees of awfulness. Will it be rotten eggs, or decaying flesh scent next? Not even the farter knows. A person who gets up every 5 minutes. Sitting next to a person with an unwashed, but strongly perfumed, wig. That smell didn't leave my nostrils for a very long time. A chatty narcissist. Your ex who cheated on you. On behalf of those of us who like to chat. Sorry. Also, what brings you to Dallas? A sick person. Correct answer.